Hello, Internet! We are back with my round 8 game from day one. So just got to give you some context here because I did make it to round 8. In yesterday's video, hopefully you saw I was going 4-0, undefeated. Really happy actually. The next round I won, so I was 5-0. And in Swiss rounds where you only need 6 out of 8 wins to go through to day 2, I was basically in round 6 one game away from making day 2 there and then, which would have been fantastic. But I'll just pause this so I can tell you a little bit about it. I played someone who had a Trick Room Whimsicott, which is something that this team really does not really like playing against. And then in the next round, I played Marcus Statter, who had a really good matchup against me. This team does not do well against Mega Gengar and Bronzong, especially together. So, so that wasn't good. I'm pretty sure both of those games I lost 0-2 as well. So, sitting here, I'm at 5-2. It is an elimination match. I need to win this to make it through to day 2. And I've just come off 4 straight individual game losses as well. So I did not want to be the person that went, 5-0 on day 1 and just couldn't make it to 6, So let's see how this goes. It's a crazy game. So, stay around to watch it.
At all is just, it's such a game-breaking mechanic because Thunder Wave already lowers your speed such a significant amount. It'll effectively make
just
you
sitting
go
there
fast,
to
unless there's
get the
other
okay to go
Pokemon.
now.
But then that ability on top of it to not even get off a single attack for the turn, and it lasts the entire game. It just makes paralysis so good. So Thunder is being able to spread that with its prankster ability before you can even react. It just makes it so annoying to play against and so effective.
All right, well, it looks like we are ready for our first elimination match here in Swiss Round 8. It will be Barry Anderson up against Melvin Keh. Both of these players are 5-2. This is, again, an elimination match. We've seen Barry earlier, but we have not seen Melvin. You can see on his team one of the Groudon.
Yeah, it's from my perspective, this game, which is nice. Does anyone really enjoy playing against Big Six? I felt it's winnable, Big Six matchups, but I was worried about if he led like Kangaskhan Smeargle or Kangaskhan Xerneas, something like that. I was just worried about his Smeargle, really. Never really enjoyed playing against another Smeargle, because there's so many mind games, what am I going to do? What am I going to predict him to do to react to my Smeargle? All of that kind of stuff, so it's going to be interesting. Remember, I'd come off 4 straight individual game losses here as well, so
Groudons, other Kangaskhan, so it'll be very interesting to see how Togekiss does if it's brought, but I got to cast Barry earlier. He had a Volcarona. We didn't get to see it, but I hope we see it here.
All right, well, we'll see if Volcarona is out on the field for Barry this time. It looks like we are just going to see Kangaskhan and Xerneas on the field for Melvin, and Smeargle Xerneas on the field for Barry. So both Xerneas on the field alongside Fake Out Pressure, plus the support Pokemon in Kangaskhan and Smeargle. Smeargle, of course, the more annoying, the more obnoxious of the support Pokemon, while Kangaskhan, of course, has...
I'll just pause this here as well, because there's a lot of things that can happen here. I don't know if he knows that my Smeargle is Scarfed or not, so I could go for a Fake Out on his Xerneas, hoping for a Fake Out onto my Smeargle. If that does happen, I get a free Geomancy, and I am in a really good position. If he doesn't Fake Out my Smeargle, if he predicts that play, if he knows that I am Scarfed, and goes for a Fake Out on my Xerneas, and I Fake Out his Xerneas, then that's pretty much a dead turn. But because I'm locked into Fake Out, that's actually a really bad position for me to be in. So there's a lot riding on this one turn already.
More offensive pressure.
Wow, they made their moves really fast. Didn't want any time to...
Yeah, I do seem to remember in this game, I'd played the matchup a million times before. I knew what I wanted to do. I already knew the possibilities of things in my head. I made my moves really fast. It's just how it is when you know a team that well, I suppose.
Think about that at all. It'll be interesting to see because both Xerneas match up against each other. Whichever one's faster to get the Geomancy off first will be interesting. Here we see Smeargle actually goes first with the Fake Out. Did Kangaskhan go for that as well?
Yeah, it did. Wow, Kangaskhan does go for the Fake Out onto Smeargle. So Barry, of course, will be able to use that Geomancy, while Melvin will be flinched from Fake Out. So Barry showing a surprise fast Smeargle there, faster than that Kangaskhan.
That means it's got to be a Choice Scarf. If that Kangaskhan was trained to be fast, there's no other way Smeargle can become faster. So the plus side here is it gives Barry the initial edge. He gets the Geomancy up on turn 1, while Melvin gets absolutely nothing done. However, now on turn 2, if Smeargle's locked into that fake out, it's completely useless.
It has to switch out.
Exactly, it has to switch out unless it just wants to just do nothing. So Barry trades kind of his turn 2 initiative to get a big advantage on turn 1. We'll see if that's a worthwhile trade for him.
Yeah, really good analysis there as well. That's exactly what happened. You know, I have just traded my turn 2 initiative. I've got options here as well. A Moonblast onto his Xerneas could potentially one-shot it, but would definitely put it in extreme speed range as well. But it could protect. Kangaskhan don't often carry protect, so I could get basically a free Moonblast into that slot and knock out whatever is in that slot as well. But do I want to hit the Xerneas? Do I want to stop it from maybe going for its own Geomancy as well? Well, let's find out. I've got to switch to Smeargle out because I'm locked into the fake out. So I'm definitely bringing my Scrafty in here, I do believe, yeah. Bringing the Scrafty in, just because that does get the Intimidate onto the Kangaskhan, so if it does attack me,
Barry will switch
it's
out
not going to be threatening me too much.
Scrafty, so we'll be able to get the Intimidate off onto Kangaskhan. Very bold switching in a Scrafty who's facing down a Xerneas, but with that Geomancy boosted Xerneas on his own side, Barry's probably feeling pretty comfortable. Talonflame will switch in on Melvin's side, so trying to use that priority Gale Wings, possibly Brave Bird, to deal a lot of damage back to Barry's boosted Xerneas. But
yeah, and that turn 2, like I've played that turn 2 so many times, they always seem to protect their Xerneas, so I was really tempted, even though I'd got the Intimidate onto the Kangaskhan. So, you know, the Scrafty kind of did cover if I didn't target the Kangaskhan there. It's just it was so tempting for me to go from the Moonblast into that Kangaskhan slot there, because it would have brought the Talonflame down to, well, potentially one-shotted it, but it would have brought it down to really low so that recoil would have knocked it, knocked itself out with one hit. But really, I suppose I did need to just attack the Xerneas, just because if he did get its own Geomancy up as well, then I would have been in a pretty poor position. A Dazzling Gleam, if he did leave his Kangaskhan in, wouldn't have knocked out either of them and would have left me in a poor position as well. So Dazzling Gleam, definitely not. I had to Moonblast one of those slots, and there we go. It worked out like that, but that was kind of like a middling play, and I'm quite happy with how it worked out, because I've got Scrafty, I've got Quick Guard, so I can kind of cover the Talonflame a little bit there. But let's see what happens, because I seem to remember this game gets very interesting.
Got the Scrafty and now has fake out pressure again.
Yeah, the fake out pressure is really good here, but boy, those were 2 really risky turns from Barry. Going for a Choice Scarf fake out. Oh, and a Quick Guard.
Yeah, not even time to react to the old one. Quick Guard. Scrafty will be blocked by that. Moonblast coming out on Barry's side. Will connect with Melvin. Xerneas deals so much damage, and not quite enough. Not quite enough to pick up the KO there, so Xerneas will be able to get its Geomancy boost off this time.
So this is interesting for Melvin. He better be, fully confident that his Xerneas is faster than Barry's. Otherwise, it's just going to get knocked out here. So I guess this shows that Melvin is confident that his Xerneas must be trained to be extremely fast. But we'll see.
Now this is a really, really interesting turn. I'll take you through it when the moves have gone through.
Kangaskhan, if that Kangaskhan faked out Barry's Xerneas, that would have been really bad for Barry. And then switching in Scrafty against Xerneas, very risky, but this paid off for him so far extremely well.
Yeah, that's definitely a turn that Barry will not be able to replicate ever again. Talonflame going for the Tailwind this time. That was what Melvin was looking for. Getting that Tailwind up, making sure that his Xerneas will be the fastest, and of course, the Dazzling Gleam coming out from Barry's Xerneas deals about 50% to Talonflame. Will be enough to activate its red card. Red card Talonflame. That's a tech we see pretty regularly on anti-Xerneas Pokemon. The knockoff coming out from Scrafty onto Talonflame. Would have liked to get that first so that it would knock off the red.
Yeah, so that was a really, really interesting turn. Looking back on the game, the red card, and my friends were telling me as well that it was just the Talonflame was screaming red card. So yeah, interesting turn, because the turn before he went for a Quick Guard on my fake out, which at the time I didn't really think much of, because I was just going to fake out the Talonflame anyway, and it wasn't really going to do too much damage. But if I had got the fake out onto his Talonflame, it would have activated his Quick Guard already, so he had to go for the Quick Guard just to stop it from taking damage from the fake out. The Moonblast unfortunately didn't knock his Xerneas out, so this turn that's just happened, I knew he was going to protect his Xerneas and go for a Tailwind, but in the situation, it just didn't clock in my head that that was probably, or even could have been, a red card Talonflame. Because I could have just quick guarded all over the Talonflame. I didn't really need to attack it. Because the red card wasn't in my mind, I thought he was going to protect and Tailwind. I could go for a Dazzling Gleam and knock off onto the Talonflame, and as long, he would have got Tailwind up, but I would have knocked his Talonflame out, so I would have been in a pretty good position. But because he did go for the quick guard, he didn't activate his red card on my Scrafty. I just didn't think. I went for the Dazzling Gleam, thinking I could pick off his Xerneas. He did protect it, like I did kind of suspect he would, but if he didn't, then I would have picked it off. And the red card activates on my Xerneas, and so I'm feeling pretty frustrated right now. I'm sure that I've lost this game because I do know that because I started the game so well. Like I've shown him that I have got a Scarf Smeargle now. I went for the fake out on his Xerneas. He went for the fake out on my Smeargle. That worked out perfectly. So just because of that one red card, this whole game has turned around in his favor now. So I can't. I mean, he has got 2 Pokemon here, both on the littlest of HP, and I have got Extreme Speed in the back. So there's maybe going to be a chance, but I'm almost sure that I've lost the game at this point.
Red card and also get the KO.
Yeah, now Tailwind's up, so that kind of makes the Choice Scarf on Smeargle a lot less effective. However, we saw Fake Out.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe is enough to pick up a knockout here?
It would be close.
It is.
From Smeargle?
From a Smeargle,
we do also know that Talonflame has Quick Guard too.
That's true. So certainly an option there because you don't want to let Smeargle potentially pick up a KO with Fake Out. But at the same time, then well, it doesn't matter because Tailwind's up, so Xerneas will be faster than Smeargle thanks to both the Tailwind and the Geomancy. So I think it's completely safe to go for the Quick Guard there. So maybe switch Smeargle out and save it for later is an option for Barry.
Well, it looks like it will be the Quick Guard from Melvin.
This is Scrafty, because he's got the Tailwind up, keeping the Smeargle would have done nothing for me. Just went for that, just hoping that he wouldn't Quick Guard, but of course he would. I just had to sacrifice both of my Pokemon there. I did not want to bring anything in the back to take a Dazzling Gleam, so yeah, I had to let them both go down there.
Outcome of this game, it was just so effective getting that Xerneas off the field after it already got a Geomancy boost up. We saw earlier today that Red Card is it's so inconsistent. It actually helped the opponent last time we saw it, and then
this
the other time...
This is the first time I've seen it work.
Yes, same for me. But look, when it does work, look how effective it is. It totally changed the outcome of this game for Melvin and put him in a great spot and in control. But he is still staring down 2 restricted Pokemon, and his Pokemon are very low on HP, so he does have to watch out. Rayquaza, of
Yeah, the interesting thing about this turn is my Rayquaza does have a Focus Sash, so I can maybe predict him to go for a Quick Guard and survive an attack and attack him that way. My Xerneas is still at full HP as well, so it can potentially survive a Moonblast from his Xerneas as well. So the game isn't entirely over, but that red card really messed things up for me.
Of course, does have Extreme Speed, and that will move before Talonflame can even attack.
Yeah. Do you think Xerneas can get off a non-power boosted Geomancy here? I mean, there are a couple of Pokemon that are weak here that Rayquaza may be able to deal with for it.
It'll be risky. It's an option, but it's very risky. The good thing here is you don't have to worry about attacking Talonflame because if it attacks, it'll just knock itself out.
Yeah.
So don't even bother attacking it. Just Extreme Speed the Xerneas. Let Talonflame knock itself out and get an attack off. I think the Geomancy might be too greedy, but that could certainly win Barry the game if he's able to pull it off.
Yeah, well, Barry is going to go ahead and Mega Evolve his Rayquaza. Quick Guard coming out again from the Talonflame. Xerneas using that Dazzling Gleam will connect with both the Xerneas and the Rayquaza. 1 hit point, Rayquaza holding on thanks to that Focus Sash, and Dazzling Gleam coming out again from Barry's. Barry's Xerneas will pick up the double KO of its own on Talonflame and the Geomancy boosted Xerneas because it took so much damage earlier. Now, Rayquaza has not moved yet. Swords Dance Rayquaza for Barry. Going to be hoping to deal a lot of damage with an Extreme Speed because I'm not sure it's going to get many opportunities to do anything else.
No, with 1 HP left, it's probably only going to get 1 more attack off Groudon.
Groudon, though.
Groudon's very bulky.
It's also slow.
That's true, but we do see the Kangaskhan as
with
well.
That Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. It's got fake
Yeah, I'll just let this go through. I was quite pleased with that turn because it did work out how I expected it to. So I did get the Dazzling Gleam. I didn't extreme speed because I knew he was going to go, or I expected him to go for a quick guard there. Let's just pause this now with Primal reverted. I did expect him to go for a quick guard, so didn't go for an extreme speed. I knew, well, I didn't know, but I was hoping he would go for a Dazzling Gleam, which my Xerneas would survive. Even maybe could have survived a Moonblast, maybe, but I was thought he had to Dazzling Gleam just to get some damage on my Rayquaza too. So I knew that I could Dazzling Gleam myself, knock out both of his Pokemon, and my Rayquaza would have a free turn to do something. I could either Swords Dance, like I did, or the other thing in my head was I could Protect it that turn. So Protect on his Quick Guard, survive with my Xerneas, Dazzling Gleam, knock both of his Pokemon out, and now we would still be in this position, but my Rayquaza would be neutral attack, but it would still have full HP as well. And maybe that was the better option, because he can just Sucker Punch me now. But I don't know. It was always going to be really hard for me to come back after that red card. But let's see what happens.
Very vocally in their physical defense.
Yeah, I think that Talonflame having Quick Guard and the red card, the red card especially, but then the Quick Guard to follow it up, preventing any kind of extreme speed from knocking out Melvin Xerneas. So it was able to get a Dazzling Gleam off.
Yep, Barry does go for the double protect here, trying to make sure that there can be no fake outs or sucker punches coming out from that Kangaskhan. Melvin just going for the fake out and the fire punch. Tailwind.
Any setup move from his Groudon there would have just given me more information. He wouldn't have had to have gone for it. So if he did substitute, then I would have known for the next game. If he Swords Danced, I would have known for the next game as well.
All right, well, here comes the extreme speed. Is going to connect with the Groudon, actually, hoping that Melvin went for the Sucker Punch. Did go for the Sucker Punch, and it does fail. Xerneas will get the Moonblast off if it targets down that Groudon. If it gets a critical hit, this could be huge. Not going to be enough. Groudon hangs on. Rock Slide from Groudon. Is it going to connect? Whoa. So risky. Will connect with the Rayquaza and the Xerneas. Pick up the KO onto Rayquaza. Oh man, I have seen so many tournaments ended on a Rock Slide miss that I almost just got PTSD from watching that.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. He had to really go for the Sucker Punch onto my Rayquaza there, just to stop me Dragon Ascenting and knocking out his Groudon. So I had to Extreme Speed, and I did think if I could get just one critical hit, I might have been able to knock out his Groudon with a combination of +2 Extreme Speed and Moonblast. So I had to go for it. That was my win condition. Maybe I needed 2 critical hits. Maybe I needed the Extreme Speed to critical hit and not the Moonblast. I needed a critical hit. Unfortunately, I didn't go for it, but if I'd pulled that off, then I would have been, sitting really happily. Now, I'm frustrated because I've shown my Scarf straight away in that last game, and I had a really good start, and I didn't win that game because of that red card. So now, right now, I have lost 5 individual games in a row. I went 5-0 in the tournament, down to 5-2, and now I'm 5-2, and I've lost the first game of this set. So if I lose one more game, I'm out of Worlds. I'm not going through to Day 2. So let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Best of 3 is very weak.
Yes, Scarf Smeargle very similar to the idea of red card, because once you find out as Choice Scarf, I mean, if Melvin game 1 simply faked out the Xerneas on turn 1, that Smeargle would have accomplished absolutely nothing. No Geomancy would have gotten up, but now Smeargle has to switch out. When you're doing that against the likes of a Kangaskhan and a Xerneas, that is so risky.
Well, we'll have to see if either of these players change up their strategies. Barry, of course, is down one game in this best of 3 set. He needs to win this next game in order to keep his tournament hopes alive. Game 2, Melvin up 1-0, beating the Togekiss and the Kangaskhan up against the Smeargle and Xerneas. So Barry has opted to continue with that Scarf Smeargle lead, while Melvin has decided to go for Kangaskhan Togekiss.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Melvin does here, because Smeargle certainly threatens a faster Dark Void thanks to the Choice Scarf. Or does Barry simply go for a fake out and then switch out? Of course, that's always risky because your opponent can take advantage of that. It'll be interesting to see what Togekiss does. Tailwind is certainly a common move on Togekiss to let...
Or even something like Thunder Wave.
Even Thunder Wave, that would probably actually be better in this situation because if Xerneas goes for a Geomancy, that'll double its speed. And then Tailwind will put you guys at pretty much even, whereas Thunder Wave, it reduces its speed so much that even after the Geomancy, it'll be slower than practically everything. And then, of course, Togekiss with Air Slash and Serene Grace, you're never going to be moving.
All right, well,
Look at that, look at that. As soon as he used Magic Coat, he looked up at me to see my reaction. I love it when players do that.
Togekiss uses Magic Coat. It's the anti-Smeargle tech. Fake out from Melvin onto the...
Whoa!
Sorry, can't even get it out because Smeargle is switcherooing. Togekiss gets that Choice Scarf while Smeargle picks up a Citrus Berry for it.
Yeah, that worked out perfectly for me. I'd shown I was scarfed in the last game. I didn't actually show Dark Void, but you can assume Dark Void. Anytime when they lead with something like Togekiss, or maybe even Clefairy, or maybe sometimes Cresselia, there are lots of things, like if you use Smeargle for long enough, you get to identify the things that can use Magic Coat. There's no other reason why he would lead with Togekiss other than to Magic Coat me. So I felt that was quite obvious. He stayed as a normal Kangaskhan as well to keep his inner focus, so I couldn't fake out the Kangaskhan. So he felt really safe doing that. I couldn't fake out his Kangaskhan. He was protecting himself from a Dark Void. He felt safe. My Xerneas was obviously not going to be doing anything this turn. I didn't protect it just in case he did something else. But I don't think I'd shown Switcheroo, not on stream anyway. At this point, so even if he was going to go for a Tailwind or something like that, I could just lock it into Tailwind. Really, I felt like I was a little bit worried because obviously a Scarf Togekiss is not a nice thing if it can just outspeed you and flinch you with Air Slash. So I was a little bit wary about doing that, but I just had a really big suspicion that he was going to go for a Magic Coat there. There was no other reason why he would do that. And because I have not got a Scarf anymore, this lets me do lots of really fun things with the Smeargle. So watch this.
So,
yeah, really, really interesting. I like that because imagine what you can do with that. If you're against a Xerneas, you can switcheroo the Choice Scarf onto a Xerneas before it Geomancies. I mean, that could be devastating. But here, Togekiss gets to get the Magic Coat off first, so I believe it won't be locked into that. It'll be locked into whatever move it chooses this turn.
Air Slash?
Yes, I was just a little bit worried about him going for a Thunder Wave on my Xerneas here. That was the only thing I was worried about.
Depending on how those rolls end up happening, because if you're getting flinched every turn by something as fast as a Choice Scarf Togekiss.
Yeah, it's like we're back in 2015. Everyone's getting flinched every turn.
Oh boy.
Melvin chooses to retreat his Kangaskhan, wants to be able to reset the fake out, switches in Xerneas for some more offensive pressure here. Obviously, both Xerneas now staring each other down. Barry will be able to get his Geomancy off here, so Geomancy on Barry's Xerneas. So we'll have to see if Melvin's Togekiss, now with its free Choice Scarf, will be able to do anything to check that, to check Barry's Xerneas, or if it will just be, Melvin will just be hoping on another red card to get himself out of this sticky situation. Smeargle, though, does go for the transform as well.
Oh, boy.
Okay, Barry says, all right, you figured out how to deal with one of my Xerneas. Now I have two Xerneas.
Yeah, and, well, the Tailwind...
Choice Scarf Tailwind.
It's nice, but...
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that even my Smeargle was faster than his Choice Scarf Togekiss there. So that Togekiss, I don't know, must be really, really, really slow. Maybe it's minimum speed. Maybe it's got like After You and all that sort of stuff. In which case, maybe it should be using Togetic instead. So I don't know, but that Togekiss was really slow. Because he, I was thinking even if he did go for like a Thunder Wave or something on my Xerneas, then because my Smeargle is not locked into anything anymore, I can transform into my own Xerneas and still get a +2 Xerneas out of this. So, this has worked out perfectly so far. So, Togekiss is locked into Tailwind right now. He's brought his Xerneas in, hasn't got any Geomancy boosts or anything, because he has brought the Togekiss. I'm thinking he hasn't probably hasn't brought his Talonflame, so no red card. But even if he has brought his red card, I have still got two Xerneas now, and he can only switch one of me out. So I'm feeling really, really good now. Could not have worked out better.
Now you're locked into Tailwind, and you're staring down two
Xerneas.
Do I have to repeat two Xerneas with the Geomancy boost? It is not looking good for Melvin.
Yeah, I mean, red card is a great item that works once in one game. Maybe it would work in this as well, but unfortunately, it should only work on one of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways Melvin can pull himself out of this. I don't know if I can come up with anything.
I'm more impressed that Barry made Choice Smeargle work. Melvin does have to retreat his Togekiss now. Kangaskhan's back out on the field. Needs to use, if anything is going to get him back in the game, it's going to be abusing that fake out pressure. But now Xerneas will protect itself from the incoming Dazzling Gleam.
I didn't see any reason why I shouldn't just Dazzling Gleam here. I didn't want to like Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam or whatever in case you know, something like the Kangaskhan came in and the Dazzling Gleam didn't knock it out. I just felt safe. Like if he did bring the Talonflame in, then yeah, one of them would be getting red carded out. It didn't really matter to me because my Xerneas has taken a few HP of damage. They're both about as bulky as each other. In fact, the Smeargle has got the Citrus Berry, so maybe that is the more valuable one right now. So I didn't really mind. Just Dazzling Gleam in twice was the way to go there.
Xerneas, yeah.
So at least one of these Pokemon on Melvin's side should be able to last through this turn, but I don't know if that is enough to take down 2 boosted Xerneas.
Yeah, maybe
and look at their
one.
HP.
I mean, you know, the berries is only at 162. That's a little weak for a Xerneas.
Right, but it's going to be so tough to take down.
All right, here comes Dazzling Gleam number 1 from Barry. Connects to Groudon and Xerneas. Will not be able to pick up the KO onto Groudon as you predicted. Will be able to pick up the KO onto the other Xerneas, of course, with that double Dazzling Gleam barrage. Groudon hanging on by just a thread. A big Precipice Blades here could be crucial. Will connect with both of the Pokemon. Will deal a lot of damage back, but no critical hits. Smeargle actually got that Citrus Berry earlier, so now not only does it have Xerneas Geomancy boost, but also it gets that extra 25% effective hit points.
I was about to say before that turn happened, like even though it's got Smeargle's lower HP, so the Xerneas has, you know, it doesn't seem as bulky, but it got that Citrus Berry, so that effectively makes it even bulkier than it is.
Yeah, that makes the Smeargle effectively a better Xerneas than Xerneas.
Yeah.
Well, Barry is going to protect the real Xerneas here, as well as protecting the Smeargle Xerneas.
Yeah, this was maybe a little bit unnecessary because I had already seen how slow the Togekiss was, but I was aware that this was his last turn off Tailwind, and I just wanted to stall it out.
Be able to pick off one of these.
Yeah, but now Tailwind's over, so now I don't think Togekiss can outspeed either of these Xerneas, unfortunately.
So I was lamenting earlier that I had not seen that many Xerneas on stream, and you know, I'm glad that Barry took care of me with the double Xerneas on his team. I'm glad we got that shot of all 3 Xerneas on the field at the same time.
Yeah, Evan, the VGC stream is home to Transform.
Yeah,
and Ditto with Imposter. We've seen all kinds of transformations here. We've seen matches with multiple Groudons, multiple Xerneas. We saw Smeargle choose to transform into a Jump Buff when there were 2 Groudons on the field.
I saw that. Because Jump Buff was clearly the superior choice.
Right.
So put yourself in this position. You've gone 5-0 to 5-2. You've lost the first game in the set. You've won the second game. You need to win this one game to make it through to day 2 of Worlds. If you don't, you're out. It was all on this one game. I've shown the Scarf. He's shown the red card. I've shown the switcheroo and the transform. We know the secrets now. What is going to happen? Let's see how it plays out.
And there were so many intense plays on either side that just, you didn't know what the outcome would be. They were, you know, I don't want to say risky, but some of them were definitely pretty risky. They could have backfired very easily.
Yeah, a little optimistic, some of them.
Right, but they worked. They paid off, and that's what makes watching these matches so exciting. When you see these risky plays actually pay off, the reward just looks, you know, so enticing.
Yeah, and you can just see the concentration on both of these players' faces right now. Both of these players have shown all of their tricks. You know, we thought Barry only had that Choice Scar Smeargle. He showed the switcheroo, the transform.
Hey, he's still got a Volcarona.
We have not seen Volcarona yet. I mean, Volcarona is a really good Pokemon. I mean, it's really, the biggest problem is that it only gets 4 moves.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier, that Volcarona's got so many good moves that it learns. It really wishes it could have 5, maybe even 6 moves, but it's only stuck with 4, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if Barry decides to bring in that Volcarona, or if Melvin will be able to take it back like he did in Game 1, win this one. Game 3, winner advances, loser goes home. So Melvin will lead the Kangaskhan.
And this is the lead that I was fearing most. Mind games. He knows I'm scuffed. So many mind games here.
Very differently every time.
Right.
I believe this is the first time we've seen Melvin Smeargle.
Yeah, this will be a great way to decide Game 3. Double Smeargle. Let's see which one's got the craziest tricks up its sleeve.
Yeah, we had triple Xerneas. Now let's do double Smeargle.
Yeah, I'd love to see Melvin Smeargle have something crazy.
All right, well, the Smeargle Kangaskhan lead is something that we see pretty regularly. It's a very disruptive lead here.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what Barry decides here because his Smeargle is Choice Scarf, so it's going to be locked into whatever it decides to use this turn. Melvin, on the other hand, I don't know if he's using Choice Scarf, maybe a Focus Sash, maybe a Mental Herb. So there's a lot of things he can do. Depending on what that item is. So he might have more flexibility in this match than Barry has.
All right, well, Melvin does go for the fake out again onto Xerneas. Barry showing the Dark Void. Barry just going straight for Dark Void with that Choice Scarf. Does connect onto Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan is asleep. Will connect onto Smeargle. Smeargle is asleep. So Barry showed his tricks in Game 1 and Game 2, and in Game 3, he's like, you know what? It's still Smeargle. I can
yeah, like I feel like that play gave me the best chances because, well, I did want to do something different. You know, obviously there are lots of mind games as well. I didn't want to fake out his Smeargle because I'd be locked into that. He maybe didn't want to fake out my Smeargle just in case I went for a fake out on his Smeargle. So many mind games. But I thought, okay, if you don't fake out my Xerneas and you don't go for like a Crafty Shield, then I am going to be putting both of you to sleep. If he does go for a Crafty Shield and a fake out on my Xerneas, then, okay, I've taken a bit of damage, but I'm just going to sit in there and keep on using Dark Void, which means his Smeargle has got to sit there and just keep using Crafty Shield. My Xerneas will be able to take an attack now and would be able to Geomancy up and then potentially, I would imagine, survive the Sucker Punch. If not, I have potentially got the Scrafty Switch in as well, and just Moonblast and knock out that Kangaskhan as well. So I felt really safe in a way doing this. I mean, as safe as you can using Dark Void, I suppose. The only thing that I was actually worried about as soon as these moves went through was something like a Chesto Berry on his Smeargle, which I have seen before a few times. So that would have been really nasty for me, but that worked out really good for me because the Kangaskhan did use Fake Out. It's got a guaranteed sleep turn the next turn. Smeargle can wake up, but it is only 1 in 3 chance, so let's see.
still do this.
Yeah, no Lumberry from the Smeargle, no Crafty Shield, no Fake Out onto the Smeargle. Barry, with this really risky Choice Scarf Smeargle, has managed to get the right prediction with its move every single game in this match. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean...
Thank you, Ray. I am incredible. No, and but this is, I mean, I'll talk about this when I do the team report. This is part of the team. One of my strengths as a player, and you know, hopefully you saw, you know, a few months ago I did that, you know, that thing, you know, what makes a good VGC player. I think that's a pretty good video. You know, go and watch that. You need to identify what you are good at as a player, and for me, making really hard reads, making good predictions is absolutely my strength. So using a team like this, with high risk, high reward, but if I get the predictions right, then I win. This is perfect for me. And like Ray said, I made the risky moves every game, and every game it worked out for me. So I'm still not in a fantastic position because his Smeargle could wake up. So we'll see. We'll see.
Choice Scarf Smeargle has a fairly low success rate, but when you have a Choice Scarf Smeargle that can do at least 3 different things, Barry's making it work.
Yeah, but this is Barry. He's known for being able to utilize sleep to its fullest potential. He's known for things like Breloom and now Smeargle. So, you know, he's kind of used to making these predictions. He's become a veteran at being able to read people and know how to play these kind of sleep-inducing Pokemon.
Well, here comes the Xerneas for Melvin. Kangaskhan switched out. Of course, Barry now will be able to get his own Geomancy off here. Smeargle, of course, does go before the Xerneas, which could be interesting information if they were going to a Game 4. Rayquaza now out on the field for Barry as well.
Yeah, interesting that I did notice the Smeargle did go first, so I was expecting it really to just be protecting. It could have been going for a Crafty Shield or something like that, but I was expecting it to be protecting. So even if it did wake up there, I wouldn't have been in a terrible position actually. If he'd woken up and gone for a Dark Void, then I would have been in a very bad position. I would have been the one, you know, hoping for the sleep rolls there. But he didn't even go for the Dark Void. So if he did wake up and go for the Dark Void, it would have been bad for me. But he didn't, which is, you know, fantastic for me. It means that I do get my Geomancy up. It means I got my Rayquaza in now, nice and freely. He's got his Xerneas in there now, but it's not Geomancy. It's not a threat. And well, let's see.
So he does have to watch out for that. Of course, if he is scared of that and manages to predict which slot Talonflame comes in, if he attacks with the Rayquaza with an extreme speed to move before Xerneas, he can get Rayquaza switched out instead of the Xerneas.
And we get a free switch into something like, you know, maybe the Choice Scarf Smeargle again.
Oh boy, that would be really good for Barry if he could pull something like that off. That requires Melvin to make that switch and then Barry to call which Pokemon is going to switch out for Talonflame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these players have made some of those aggressive predictions before.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what the Smeargle's item is on Melvin's side, whether it's a Focus Sash, whether it's maybe not a Focus Sash, in which case it would go down from one Xerneas attack, because Barry does want to attack with his Rayquaza onto that Xerneas slot, or even maybe set up a Swords Dance if he's feeling maybe a little bit greedy, or wants that late game power. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes for. And he does go for that extreme speed.
Yeah, trying to protect himself from a red card switch in onto the Smeargle, just making sure that Smeargle, if it is Focus Sash, he won't be stymied by that. Will deal a lot of damage to Melvin Xerneas as well, and pick up the KO onto the enemy Smeargle. Dazzling Gleam coming out on Melvin's side deals a lot of damage, but not enough to Rayquaza, and just a little bit to that.
Yeah, look at that damage on that Xerneas, just not enough.
Yeah, that didn't even bring me down to my sash. Yeah, I was not going to mess around with that Smeargle. I didn't want it to wake up. As soon as I saw the extreme speed animation going through, I knew he hasn't woken up and gone for a wide guard. That was what I was worried about that turn. If he had, I would have extreme speeded it, and he could have maybe gone for a Geomancy of his own there. But the next turn, Rayquaza would have been threatening again with another extreme speed, and we would have gone from there. So if he had Geomancy as well, then my Rayquaza would have still had its Focus Sash intact, would have been able to hit a Dragon Ascent on his Xerneas as well. So I did not want to mess around with that Smeargle. I just wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible, and I did.
Yeah, it needs way more damage for Groudon to be able to compete here.
Yeah, and Rayquaza's still hanging in. There's no priority moves on Melvin's side. Neither Pokemon is faster than Rayquaza, so Rayquaza's gonna...
Yeah, at this point I'm feeling really good. Really, really good, because he hasn't Geomancied up. He's got his Groudon, which isn't really threatening me too much. So, yeah, I was feeling good. Obviously didn't want to choke away the game, but I was feeling good here.
To really put him in complete control.
Yeah, Xerneas, of course, is in another Dazzling Gleam range as well, so very safe position for Barry to be in. Melvin really needs to do something to shake this up and get the momentum back.
Yeah, and Melvin's last Pokemon is that Kangaskhan, which is it's asleep and has yet to even use a single turn of sleep. So it's guaranteed at least one sleeping turn. So Melvin, he's pretty much down to these last two Pokemon.
Yeah, and unfortunately it looks like he's down to one now. That Dazzling Gleam will knock out the Xerneas. A critical hit on the Groudon as well. Barry will be able to use his Dragon Ascent from Rayquaza, probably making that critical hit unnecessary, but...
Yeah, but Barry does have the Focus Sash, so he doesn't have something like Life Orb boosting the power. It could have mattered. Groudon is a very physically bulky Pokemon, but we'll never know. And regardless, I think Barry was still in such a commanding spot right there.
Even if he did survive that, then he could only potentially have knocked out one of my Pokemon, so I would have been in a fantastic position. Just because the Kangaskhan hasn't, like they just said, hasn't burnt any turns to sleep yet. It can't wake up, it can't fake out, so yeah.
This will be Melvin's last stand, and Barry, what an amazing turnaround from that first game to take both games 2 and game 3 in very commanding fashion.
And remember, this was an elimination match, so to go down after losing game 1, that's, you know, it takes a special...
I love it, the Sleep Mega Evolution.
It takes a certain kind of somebody with, you know, the kind of mental fortitude that Barry has, somebody who's been there before, to really come back from a Game 1 loss in an elimination match such as this.
Yep, and that is it. Barry Anderson
Look
will
at that
be
relief.
advancing. Yeah, that's the face of someone who knows that he is going to be able to keep playing.
Yeah.
And look at Melvin, too, having fun. Obviously, a little bit disappointed he won't be able to go on to day 2, but really fun set from both of those players.
It was very well played from both. That was an up and down series. Such a fun match to watch.
Yeah.
But boy, Barry's response to that, I just loved it. I loved it. It was a combination. You saw the excitement when he lifted his hands up in celebration, but then you saw that.
Yeah, of course. Wow. So, you know, from going 5-0 to 5-2 and then losing the first game in that last set, just won those last 2 games in that set to put me through to day 2 of Worlds. So this has been quite a long video, hasn't it? Thanks a lot for watching this, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this. Please like, please share it. What a fantastic, fantastic game. Really enjoyed that. So thank you, guys. You know, goodbye for now. Thank you. Stay tuned. There's some more coming tomorrow.